The creek was full, the orchard was dying. That was the first thing Caleb Rourke noticed when his wagon came down out of the Idaho hills in the spring of 1888. Snowmelt thundered through Mercy Creek, cold and silver beneath the cottonwoods. 30 yards away, 63 apple trees stood in rows of dust, their leaves curled at the edges as if summer had already burned them. Between the water and the roots lay 280 feet of broken wooden flume, and beside it stood a widow with an axe in her hand. Caleb had not planned to stop. He was carrying everything he owned in the wagon behind him. A tool chest, 2 blankets, 3 shirts, a coffee pot, and a 7-year-old daughter who no longer asked where they were going. Her name was Lucy. She sat beneath the canvas with a small cedar bird in her lap, one wing snapped clean through. Her mother had carved it during the last winter of her life. Since then, Lucy had refused to let Caleb mend it. Some things she seemed to believe were safer broken. Caleb understood that better than he wanted to. He pulled the team to a halt and climbed down. The widow watched him cross the road. She looked to be in her early 30s, though grief had added years around her eyes. Her work dress was faded brown. Mud darkened the hem. A loose strand of black hair kept blowing across her cheek, and she kept ignoring it. Caleb removed his hat. "Mom, is this the Vale Orchard?" "It is. I heard in Stonebridge you were looking for a carpenter." Her gaze dropped to the tool chest in his wagon, then returned to his face. "I was looking for a miracle. I'm fresh out of those." For the first time, something almost like amusement touched her expression. Caleb walked to the edge of the washout. The flume had once carried creek water along the slope and into narrow irrigation trenches between the trees. Now half its supports leaned downhill. 3 long sections had collapsed. The headgate upstream was swollen shut, and the main trough sagged like the spine of a dead animal. He crouched and pressed his thumb into the wood. "Rot, not everywhere, just enough." "How long has it been dry?" 17 days. "How long before the trees start dropping fruit?" "Maybe 12 more. And the bank?" Her face closed. 10 days. Caleb looked at the water racing past them. Enough water to feed every tree twice over, not one drop reaching the orchard. "What happened to the man who built it?" he asked. The widow's fingers tightened around the axe handle. "My husband built it. 3 springs ago, the headgate jammed during a flood. He went out after dark to clear it." She looked toward the creek, but not directly at it. "They found him 2 miles downstream." Caleb stood slowly. "I'm sorry. So am I." The answer came without self-pity. That made it heavier. "My name is Mara Vale," she said. "I can pay for 10 days, not 11. If the water isn't moving by then, Silas Ketter will take the orchard against the note." Caleb glanced back at Lucy. She had climbed down from the wagon. She stood in the road holding the broken bird against her chest. Mara saw her and lowered the axe. "Your girl?" "My whole family." Mara looked at the dry trees, the broken flume, and the 2 strangers who had arrived with nowhere to belong. Then she said, 10 days. Caleb nodded. 10 days. He began before noon. The first day was not repair work. It was judgment. He walked the entire flume with a chalk stub and marked every board that could still carry weight. He tested the posts with a mallet. He measured the grade from the headgate to the first orchard trench. He counted what Mara had in the barn, 26 sound planks. A keg of square nails, 2 lengths of chain, 1 cracked pulley, and not nearly enough time. Lucy followed at a distance. Mara followed closer. "You're marking some boards with circles and some with crosses," she said. "Circles stay. Crosses go. That one looks sound." Caleb struck it once with the mallet. The plank split down the middle. Mara stared. "My father taught me to listen to wood," Caleb said. "Good timber answers. Rotten timber only pretends." Mara looked at him for a moment longer than the sentence required. "People do that too," she said. By sundown, Caleb had pulled the first ruined section apart. His palms were blistered beneath old calluses, his shoulders burned. Lucy sat on an overturned bucket, drawing lines in the dirt with a stick. Mara brought out stew, bread, and 3 tin cups. "I only cooked for 2, she said, "so naturally there is enough for 6. Caleb almost smiled. They ate beside the dry irrigation ditch while the creek kept shouting through the trees. Lucy did not speak. She had spoken after her mother died, but only when necessary. Water, cold, no. Her words came like coins she could not afford to waste. Mara did not question her. Instead, she placed 3 apple seeds on the flat of her palm. "My husband used to say every orchard begins with something small enough to lose in your pocket." Lucy studied the seeds. "Did these come from the trees?" she asked. Caleb stopped with his spoon halfway to his mouth. It was the longest sentence she had spoken to a stranger in almost a year. Mara answered as if nothing unusual had happened. They did. But a seed does not remember the shape of the apple it came from. It only remembers what to reach for. Lucy looked toward the dead-looking rose. What does it reach for? Water first, Mara said, then light. That night, Caleb lay beneath the wagon and listened to the creek. He thought of his wife, Anne, coughing into a handkerchief while snow sealed their cabin door. He thought of the doctor who had arrived 2 days too late. He thought of every road he had taken since, telling himself the next town would hurt less. It never did. Grief did not stay behind. It climbed into the wagon. On the second day, Caleb rebuilt the first set of supports. On the third, he raised a new trough section with a rope, a pulley, and Mara braced on the opposite line. Pull when I say. I know how to pull a rope. I don't know what you know. You could ask. Caleb looked down from the scaffold. All right. Do you know how to pull a rope? Mara stared at him. Then she laughed. It was a brief sound, rusty from disuse, but it changed the whole yard. Lucy looked up from the grass. Caleb nearly missed his footing. By the fourth day, they had found a rhythm. Caleb cut and fitted. Mara hauled and held. Lucy carried nails in the pocket of her dress and announced when Caleb dropped one, which was often enough to keep her busy. At noon, Mara showed Lucy the cool room beneath the house where she stored jars from the last good harvest. Peaches, beans, apple butter, pickled beets, rows of food waiting in the dark. Why keep so much? Lucy asked. Because winter always asks what summer did with its time. Lucy considered this seriously. That evening she brought Caleb the cedar bird. She held it out with both hands. Can you fix the wing? Caleb did not reach for it. You said I wasn't to. I changed my mind. His throat tightened. He sat on the wagon step and fitted the broken pieces together. The fracture line would always show. He could have carved a new bird in an hour, cleaner than the old one, but that was not what Lucy wanted. So he drilled 2 tiny holes, set a sliver of ash across the break, and bound it with dark thread. When he handed it back, Lucy ran her finger over the scar. It's not the same. No. Is it weaker? Caleb tested the wing gently. No, he said, not there. On the 5th morning, Silas Ketter arrived. He came in a polished black buggy pulled by a matched pair, too fine for the rutted orchard road. He wore a pale vest, a narrow tie, and the expression of a man who believed every difficulty became reasonable once a price was placed on it. Mara went still when she saw him. Ketter climbed down and inspected the new Flume supports. Mrs. Vale, Mr. Ketter, I see you hired optimism. Caleb kept planing a board. Mara said, I hired a carpenter. Ketter smiled at Caleb. Then perhaps he can build you a smaller future. Caleb stopped the plane. Mara stepped between them. The payment is due Friday. I know, $146, I know, and if the orchard fails, the water share transfers with the land. I know exactly what you wrote. Ketter's smile thinned. Mercy Creek fed more than Mara's trees. Downstream, it turned the wheel at Ketter's grain mill. In a dry year, her water share was worth more than her house, her barn, and every apple tree combined. That was what he wanted, not the orchard, the water. Ketter walked to the nearest tree and snapped off a curled leaf. Sentiment is expensive, Mrs. Vale. Mara took the leaf from his fingers. So is theft when it learns to write contracts. For one sharp second, the smile left his face. Then it returned. Friday, he said. The buggy rolled away in a cloud of pale dust. Caleb watched until it disappeared. You should have told me about the water share. You came to repair the Flume. The Flume is the water share. No. The paper is the water share. Caleb pointed toward the creek. That paper is worthless if this orchard dies. Mara's voice hardened. And your job does not become your life because you have decided to care. The words landed harder than she intended. Caleb lowered his hand. Mara looked away first. I'm sorry. No, he said. You're frightened. So are you. That silenced him. She stepped closer. You work from first light until you can't see your hands. You sleep beneath a wagon even though there's an empty room in the house. And every time Lucy laughs, you look like someone has opened a door you're afraid to walk through. Caleb could hear the creek behind them. Always moving. Always leaving. What exactly do you think I'm afraid of? He asked. Mara's answer was quiet. Needing something that can be taken. That night, Caleb moved his bedroll into the spare room. It was a small decision. It felt enormous. The 6th and 7th days passed under a hard white sky. The new Flume climbed across the hillside piece by piece. Caleb replaced the worst supports with green fir from the north ridge. Mara traded 2 sacks of flour for extra nails. Lucy painted measurement marks on the posts with blackberry dye and got more on her hands than the timber. For the first time since Anne died, Caleb saw his daughter become untidy without apologizing for it. At supper on the 7th night, Lucy asked Mara, "Will the trees live?" Mara looked toward the dark window. "If the water reaches them, and if it doesn't," Caleb waited for a comforting lie. Mara did not give one. "Then some will die." Lucy tightened her hand around the repaired bird. "But not all, not all," Mara said. "Roots hold more than we can see." Caleb met her eyes across the table. Neither of them looked away. On the 8th morning, the sky turned the color of hammered lead. A warm wind came out of the south carrying rain. Caleb stood on the upper scaffold, staring at the clouds. Mara joined him. "Storm, not here, higher up." She understood at once. A cloudburst in the mountains would hit Mercy Creek hours before rain reached the orchard. The water could rise in darkness beneath a clear sky. The new Flume was almost ready. Almost was a dangerous word. They needed to set one final brace and free the headgate. Caleb climbed down. "We open it now." Mara's face lost color. "The gate can wait until morning." "No, if the creek rises tonight, pressure will jam it tighter. We'll lose the intake." "I said morning." "Mara, I know that creek. So did Elias." The moment his name left Caleb's mouth, he wished he could pull it back. Mara struck him. The sound cracked across the yard. Lucy froze near the barn. Mara's eyes filled, not with weakness, but fury. "You do not use my husband's death to win an argument. You're right. You know nothing about that night. I know you've been standing 30 yards from water for 3 years and letting it decide where you can go." Her hand trembled. Caleb's cheek burned. He took a slow breath. "I'm going to the headgate. You stay here." He turned away. Mara caught his sleeve. "No." He looked back. She was terrified, but she was still holding on. "No," she said again. "You don't go alone." They left Lucy in the house with instructions to stay away from the creek. Caleb and Mara carried lanterns, a pry bar, rope, and a sledge upstream. The path narrowed beneath the cottonwoods. Water hammered the bank so hard the ground seemed to breathe. The headgate sat inside a timber frame above the intake channel. Silt and driftwood had packed around it. The iron wheel would not move. Caleb tied himself to an anchor post. Mara held the rope. "Keep it tight. I know how to hold a rope." Even then he almost smiled. He stepped onto the wet platform. The creek pulled at the supports. Each strike of the sledge sent a shudder through the frame. Mara stood 10 feet away, both hands locked around the rope, staring at the place where the current had taken her husband. Caleb cleared one branch, then another. The wheel moved half an inch. Upstream, something hit the water with a sound like a tree breaking. Caleb looked up. A wall of brown water rounded the bend. "Run!" The surge struck the headgate. The platform dropped beneath him. Mara screamed his name as the rope snapped tight. Caleb slammed against the frame. One leg in the current, the pry bar gone. He reached for the bank, too far. The anchor post began to tilt. Mara could have let go and saved herself. Instead, she wrapped the rope around her body and stepped toward the edge. "Caleb, cut it!" "No!" The post tore another inch from the mud. Then a smaller voice rose behind them. "Mara!" Lucy stood on the path in the rain, clutching the cedar bird. She had disobeyed. She had followed. Another branch spun through the current toward Caleb. Mara looked at the rope at Lucy, at the iron release lever beside the gate. Elias had died trying to force the swollen wheel, but the lever opened the overflow channel. It would lower the pressure for only a few seconds. She had not touched it since the night he died. Mara moved, not away from the creek, toward it. She looped the rope around the oak anchor, crawled onto the flooded platform, and drove both hands against the lever. It would not move. Caleb saw the branch coming. "Mara!" She screamed and put her whole weight into the iron. The lever broke free. The overflow gate opened. Water exploded into the spill channel. The pressure dropped. The rope went slack just long enough for Caleb to drag himself onto the platform. The branch passed where his head had been. Mara collapsed beside him. For several seconds neither of them could speak. Then Lucy reached them. She threw both arms around Caleb's neck. "I thought the water took you too." The word "too" broke something open in Mara's face. She pulled Lucy close with one arm and Caleb with the other. 3 people kneeling in mud, soaked to the skin, holding on as the creek raged around them. Not because they were unafraid, because fear had finally stopped choosing for them. By dawn, the surge had passed. The new Flume still stood. One brace had split. 2 trough boards had shifted. The headgate frame leaned, but the intake was clear. Caleb's ankle was badly bruised. His ribs ached when he breathed. Mara's hands were torn raw from the rope. Friday was less than 24 hours away. The orchard was still dry. Mara stared at the damaged brace. We can't finish. Caleb sat in the mud and looked down the long wooden line they had built. Yes, we can. You can barely stand. Then I'll work sitting down. That is not courage. No, he looked at her. It's arithmetic. They needed 1 brace, 2 boards, and 6 hours of flow before the nearest trees showed whether their roots could still take water. Mara followed his gaze. For the first time the task looked smaller than the fear around it. Lucy ran to the road. Caleb called after her, but she did not stop. She returned 20 minutes later with Tom Reyes from the neighboring sheep farm. Behind him came his 2 sons carrying axes. Then the schoolmistress arrived with a wagon of scrap lumber. Then the blacksmith. Then the Chinese cook from Ketter's mill who brought a coil of chain and said only, "He won't miss what he never paid for." Mara stood speechless as people filled the yard. No one called it charity. They called it Thursday. The final brace went in before noon. Caleb limped to the headgate with Mara beside him. She placed her hand on the iron wheel. This time it turned. Water entered the flume with a deep wooden rush. At first it moved slowly, darkening the boards as it came. Then faster, past the first support, past the repaired washout, past the hill bend. Lucy ran beside it, laughing, the cedar bird held high in one hand. The water reached the orchard at 12 minutes past 1. It spilled into the first trench, then the second, then the third. Dust folded inward. The ground drank so quickly the surface seemed to disappear. Mara knelt beside the nearest tree and pressed both hands into the mud. Caleb watched her shoulders shake. He thought she was crying from relief. Then she looked up. "We are not saved yet." She was right. At 3 o'clock, Silas Ketter's buggy appeared. He stepped down with a bank clerk and a leather document case. Ketter saw the wet trenches. His mouth tightened. "Impressive," he said. "But water is not payment." Mara stood. "No." She went into the house and returned with a folded contract. Ketter glanced at it. "What is that?" "An order from the Northern Line Hotel. 40 cases of late apples, 12 cases of preserves, delivery after harvest." The schoolmistress had written the letter. Tom Reyes had ridden it to the rail depot before sunrise. The hotel manager remembered Mara's apples from 3 years earlier and agreed to advance half the order. $75. Caleb placed his own pay from the unfinished Stonebridge schoolhouse beside it. $38. Mara added the last of her winter reserve. $33. $146. Exactly. Ketter did not touch the money. "You emptied everything you had to keep a failing orchard." Mara looked at the water moving between the trees. "No," she said. "I used what I had to give a living thing time to prove itself." The bank clerk counted the bills twice. Then he stamped the note. Paid. Ketter turned to Caleb. "You'll leave when the job is done." It was not a question. Caleb looked toward the wagon beneath the cottonwoods. For 2 years that wagon had been his answer to every loss. Leave before the room grows familiar. Leave before a voice becomes necessary. Leave before love has another chance to become grief. Lucy stood beside Mara with mud to her knees and blackberry dye still beneath her fingernails. Caleb looked back at Ketter. The job changed. Ketter frowned. How? Caleb's answer came easily. It stopped being a repair. Summer reached Mercy Valley slowly. Not every tree survived. 9 were too far gone. Mara cut them down herself. From the wood, Caleb built a long harvest table and a new set of shelves for the preserve room. He did not hide the knots or the dark lines left by drought. Mara said the boards were beautiful because they had carried fruit once. The remaining 54 trees held. By August, their branches bent under small, hard apples. By September, the apples had sweetened. The Northern Line Hotel ordered 20 more cases. Caleb built a packing shed near the road. Lucy painted a crooked sign above the door, Vale Orchard. Beneath it, in smaller letters, she added Rock Repairs. Mara pretended to object to the arrangement. She never took the sign down. One evening after harvest, Caleb found her walking beside the Flume. The creek was lower now, clear and quiet. She no longer avoided it. He carried the repaired cedar bird. Lucy had left it on the kitchen table that morning. "She trusts the house enough to forget things in it," Mara said. Caleb smiled. "I noticed." They stopped where the Flume crossed the old washout. Below them, water moved toward the orchard in a narrow, shining line. Mara rested her hand on the rail. "Elias believed this place would outlive us. Maybe it will. I used to think loving anyone new would mean I had left him behind." Caleb looked at the scar across the bird's wing. "I thought the same about Anne." Mara turned to him. "And now?" He took a breath. "Now I think the dead are not honored by making the living disappear." Mara's eyes filled. Caleb reached for her hand. He did not promise that nothing would happen. He did not promise there would be no more storms, no more bills, no more nights when memory entered a room without knocking. He promised something harder. I will stay when staying hurts. Mara closed her fingers around his. So will I. The following spring, Mercy Creek rose again. Caleb and Mara opened the headgate together. Lucy stood between them, tall enough now to turn the smaller wheel herself. Water entered the flume. It crossed every repaired section. It ran past the orchard rows where new buds opened pale against the branches. And when it reached the last tree, Lucy set the cedar bird on the bank, its mended wing facing the sun. The creek had never stopped running. It only needed a way home.